Hello and welcome. This is Captain Aquarius, doing business as Dan First in 2016 and bringing you another of the videos in the series about the lunations of this extremely important transformational year in our evolutionary history. The lunations, as you know, are the two main points in the marking of the moon's annual cycle. The black moon or dark moon, which is so called because it happens within the moon's monthly window of invisibility, is the moment when the moon and the sun are in exact conjunction within the zodiac. The full moon, which comes 2 weeks later, is when the moon and the sun are opposite to each other on the zodiac wheel. So today, what we are going to look at is the tremendous black moon that is coming on June 4th and 5th, depending on your location on the planet. If we look at the zodiac wheel for this particular chart, which is cast for Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, for reasons that we will mention later on, we notice the alignment that astrologers call a grand cross because it consists of 4 different positions of planets or other major chart points that are related at angles of opposition and 90 degrees, so they form a cross of 4 arms. The easiest way to find it in the chart is to look at the bold lines that you see running horizontally across the chart, bisected by another bold line running vertically through it. The Grand Cross aligns with some of these points. For example, look at the top of the chart in the 9th house, where you see Neptune's trident representing that planet, very close to the point at the top center of the chart that we call the midheaven, because this is the point that will be directly above Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, at the moment that this chart is cast for. Neptune is one of the 4 planets in the Grand Cross, there at 12 degrees of Pisces. Look down opposite to Neptune's position, down in the 4th house of the chart, and you see the planet Jupiter, who resembles the number 4. He is there at 14 degrees of the sign of Virgo. The other 2 points in the cross can be seen in the 6th and 12th houses. In the 6th house, you see the planet Saturn there at 12 degrees of Sagittarius, so that he forms a 90-degree angle with both Neptune and Jupiter. And then across from Saturn's position, you see the moon, the sun, and Venus in a triple conjunction in the sign of Gemini. This means that all 4 points of the Grand Cross are occupied, and this means that this very powerful astrological alignment consists altogether of 6 planets and also of 2 other major chart points, the midheaven point at the top center of the chart and the nadir point at the bottom. And so that is why this alignment is so full of energy. And also the other main aspect to note about this alignment is that it tends to be somewhat stressful and difficult, and the planets are in angles of disharmony, conflict, every way there is of not getting along. Why is this? Well, it's the same way with the planets as it is with us as people. When our lives are working well, we are healthy, our material life is going pretty well, we have loving relationships with our family and friends, then we tend to get along, and life goes in a way that is more harmonious. When our life is in struggle and it is not harmonious, we are not able to cover the financial base, we are struggling with health issues, we have problems in our relationships, then our way of relating to things in general is a lot less harmonious and easy. This is why a Grand Cross is so difficult, because every planet in the Grand Cross is afflicted by at least 3 other planets. And that is why, instead of bringing out the best in each planet, the Grand Cross brings out something very different. Take Neptune, whom we started with. This is the planet of spirituality, mystical consciousness, dreams, imagination, intuition, empathy, fantasy, creative arts, especially music and theater. How wonderful! But when Neptune is afflicted, instead, he goes underwater, he becomes evasive, manipulative, addictive, deceptive, avoiding responsibility, avoiding communication, hiding and lying, and seeking every possible way, passive aggressive behavior to avoid really productive engagement with others. Jupiter, at the other side of the chart at the bottom, is the king, the ruler, the bank, the money, the institutions of power and authority who, when they are at their best, do such wonderful inspirational work for the guidance and the benefit of all people. But when Jupiter is afflicted, he becomes exactly the opposite where authorities are concerned. He is corrupt. He is a giver and taker of bribes. He is a maker of dishonest deals. He is one who rigs the election, rigs the game, whatever it is. And so Jupiter at this time, too, tends to be at his worst. Saturn is the same way. Saturn is the wise, severe, magnificent spiritual teacher who represents the grounding of our lives on the earth plane in terms of what is real and possible. But when Saturn is afflicted, he turns into pure obstinacy, blockage, endless harping and emphasis on why what we want to do can't possibly work. He is the negative person on the team who explains we've never done it that way before, and therefore he is in struggle too with all of these other planets. The same can be said of the Sun, who is life force, vitality, creativity, solar intellectuality, fatherhood, the way we literally shine in the world. But when he is afflicted, he becomes pompous, arrogant, ostentatious, presumptuous, assuming that somehow he is entitled to whatever he wants just because he is the Sun. The Moon is our mother. The Moon is the feminine, emotional, maternal qualities of nurturing and compassion and guidance. But when she is afflicted, she becomes, instead of Isis, the keeper of secrets, the kind of insecure babysitter who is interested only in serving the interests of her own brood children, but basically ignoring the interests of everyone else so that her focus narrows completely to her own home and her own family. And Venus is the same way, this magnificent planet of art, beauty, and the power of attraction. But when she is afflicted, she turns mean. She becomes vengeful, selfish, easily offended, petulant, pouting, interested only in herself and looking at her own mirror instead of ever bothering to look outward at what is good for anyone else. So all of these planets, therefore, potentially, because they are in such afflictive relationships with each other, are tending to play the negative and selfish ends of their respective spectra. And so why is it that the timing of it comes as it does now? Is it somehow a weird coincidence or an irrelevant kind of accident that this dark moon comes right before the last of the American primary elections in what has been, in some ways, the most false and vicious and lying and disgraceful American presidential campaign in history, and which still has 5 months to go? It is also significant, and the reason why the chart has been cast for Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, is that this is a moment of crisis. It is a time when the American Senate has voted unanimously to lift the ban on lawsuits against Saudi Arabia by the families of American people who died in the September 11th attacks, thereby the United States trying to transfer its own responsibility for having created this inside job all along. Good luck to us all as keepers of frequency, of peace, at this black moon.